Hey guys, it's Phil with the Minuteman Moment, and no doubt you've heard about the horrific shooting in Buffalo, New York this Saturday. 13 people were shot, 10 of whom died at a supermarket in New York State. And we all know that the shooter's goal was to become infamous and use the resulting media coverage, which he's now getting, as a platform to perpetuate a racist agenda. We at GOA unequivocally condemn this despicable act by this deranged individual. The day after the tragedy, GOA released a press statement quoting Stephen Willeford, the hero who stopped the Sutherland Springs shooter using his AR-15 and who now works for Gun Owners of America. The media covered this powerful statement here.
Gun Owners of America spokesperson Stephen Willeford put out a statement right after these shootings this weekend. It says, "This weekend, an evil individual murdered innocent Americans in order to become infamous and spread his hateful ideology. Tragically, politicians and the anti-gun media played right into his trap by immediately sowing division and calling for more gun control laws. New York already has some of the strictest gun controls in the nation, which failed to prevent this tragedy. Indeed, this murder specifically targeted New Yorkers, knowing that the state had virtually outlawed concealed carry. As someone who used a firearm to stop a mass murderer, I know that the only thing that can stop an evil person with a gun intent on doing harm is a good guy or gal with a gun. I desperately urge the state of New York to recognize the constitutional right of the people to carry firearms for self-defense before the Supreme Court must force their hands in the coming months, lest another heinous attack occur."
We all mourn these senseless deaths, but I especially want to commemorate the life of the heroic security guard who fired back and gave his life defending others, Aaron Salter. What happened to Aaron could well have happened to me. That is why I always urge those who carry for self-defense to train often, and for all scenarios, including fighting back against those wearing body armor. The shooting in Buffalo is another tragic case in which gun control, which was directly designed to prevent this kind of tragedy, did absolutely nothing to stop it. Among some of their most radical policies the state already enforces include universal background checks, red flag gun confiscation orders, a ban on what they call assault weapons, a ban on standard capacity magazines, and a near impossible to meet proper cause requirement for concealed carry permit issuance, and several ammunition controls. But none of those inhibited this mass murderer. But they did disarm law-abiding citizens and put them at a marked disadvantage to their attacker. Stephen Willeford is someone who confronted a mass murderer, and I think the interview adds some much-needed perspective to the public debate right now.
This guy traveled that distance, not because he just wanted to travel a distance, but he did his research. We've seen his manifesto now. And we know that he planned it because he knew that this particular area had the lowest percentage of concealed carry permits. And New York has a may issue law and not a shall issue law. So it's really hard to get a permit to carry a gun. He knew this. He knew there was magazine capacity bans, and he knew that AR-15s were banned altogether. And so his chances of being successful in racking up numbers were greater.
And I think that of all the points Stephen brought up, the most important is how the media played right into the hands of this psychopath. He specifically chose the weapon he used because he knew it would give him more attention from the media. Their obsession with AR-15s is so obvious and palpable, it's the go-to weapon for somebody that wants to gin up controversy. In fact, there are many irresponsible things which the media has done to set up more of these tragic occurrences. What happened in Buffalo, New York isn't a problem with American gun culture or our Constitution's Second Amendment. It's a product of irresponsible and sensationalistic coverage by power-hungry politicians and a biased corporate press. Research shows that mass public murders can be contagious. And tragically, the Buffalo mass murderer's ramblings only adds to a growing mountain of evidence. The latest headlines might count the death toll or condemn the shooter's ideology, but that is exactly what this sick mass murderer wanted. The killer became radicalized online during the COVID lockdowns. The Buffalo, New York killer eventually found the writings of the Christchurch, New Zealand killer, read it, and found that he mostly agreed with it. He went on to name at least 4 other murderers who he researched and began to idolize. This sick individual was radicalized by the horrific news reports of the mass murderers before him. So the media has some responsibility here. By giving a public platform to the ideologies, personalities, and attack details of mass murderers, copycats like the New York Killer conclude that they can spread their own ideas by becoming infamous. The Buffalo, New York Killer chose his weapon, realizing that the media loves to hate on the AR-15, which may increase media coverage and public outlash. Politicians are also playing right into the narrative. He knew all too well that his attack would result in calls for the removal of gun rights in the United States. But the Buffalo, New York Killer didn't invent this idea. It's a proven strategy copied from the Christchurch, New Zealand attack. There, a racist also published his writings online, knowing that his live-streamed attack would result in gun control. And of course, the New Zealand government obliged, enacting a so-called assault weapons ban without even passing a new law. So gun owners of America will be here in Washington, D.C. to defend the Second Amendment right of the people to keep and bear arms during the backlash that's coming from this tragedy, because our opponents have already begun to call for further infringements on our rights. And you better believe that our fight is going to include body armor. But the next question is, what message are our leaders sending to the next copycat and the next? So when President Biden calls for new gun control, or some reporter spends an entire segment showcasing some killer's particular brand of racism, our society is telling the next killer, if you kill enough people with the right gun and publish your writings online, we'll publicize it, read it, and spread it to millions free of charge. That's it for this week. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the video, and we'll see you next time.